Alright, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to start out by asking a question. If we serve God in our life, do we also serve people? If we're loving God, we're called to love people, but do we also serve people? It's an interesting question if you think about it, but we're going to look in 1 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 19, where when Paul writes, he kind of makes just about anybody that would read this passage ask exactly the same question. So let's look at chapter 9 and verse 19. And 19 says, "For though I be free from all men," so he's saying we're free from all men, "yet have I made myself servant unto all." So he's saying he's free, but yet he's made himself servant to all. So why has he done this? He answers that I might gain the more. And when he says gain the more, he's speaking of salvation. So let's discuss this in today's video. Let's ask ourselves, how can we be free from all men, yet be servant to all at the same time? It's an interesting question, right? So let's go ahead and jump into it. So let's go ahead and answer the first part of this question. So how are we free from all men? How are we free, especially in Jesus, from all men? Well, first and foremost, I believe that if we're truly free from all men, we're also free from the influences, at least the bad influences, that mankind can have on us as Christians. Because let's be honest, a lot of people around us, we're surrounded by people that aren't saved every day in work, in school, and just everyday life. I mean, just all the time. So I believe we can be free from the influence of them by being in Jesus, but I also believe it's talking about being free from any actual servitude of men, like we're not actually under their thumb. We don't have to bend to their will, so to speak. But he also says that we are a servant unto all. So we're not a servant in one way, but in another way, we are a servant to all. So let's talk about that too. All right, so let's go back to the Bible to try to explain how we can be servant to all, yet be free from men at the same time. So we're going to go back. We're going to be back in 1 Corinthians chapter 9. We're going to read verses 20, and we're going to go all the way to verse 22. And it says, "And unto the Jews I become as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them that under the law. To them that are without the law, as without the law, being not without law to God, but under the law to Christ, that I might gain them that are without law. To the weak become I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some." So let's talk about these verses. What I believe Paul is saying here, and I believe he's saying that we are called to take interest in people. We know we're called to love people, but sometimes we think, oh, well, we love them, and you know, bless their heart. I like to say that in the South a lot. Bless their heart. But do we actually take interest in people? How do we take interest in them? What is it that the Bible's calling us to do here? What about these verses should impact your life every single day? Okay, let's talk about work. When you go to work, we are surrounded by other people that probably, at least in some way, have the same interests as we do. And by those interests, we are able to talk to those people about the gospel. See, work can make it easy, but these things can happen in everyday life with people that you know from anywhere, school, whatever it is. There are people out there that are interested in the same things as you, and maybe not even the same things, but you take interest in what they're interested in just to make a connection. Why? Because when people know that you will listen to them, they are much more willing to listen to you about what the gospel has to say, about what Jesus has for their life. When we take interest in other people, we are able to cultivate a relationship that involves love and that cultivates love. And when we cultivate love out of interest for other people, we're following exactly what Paul's talking about here. We are stepping into a relationship based upon the interests of other people that sometimes fall in line with what we're interested in, and sometimes it doesn't. And Paul's saying here that he would gladly take interest in what anybody else has going on just to get them saved, just to introduce the gospel into their life, just to cultivate a loving relationship so that it's that much easier to talk about the gospel to that person. All right, so that kind of concludes the discussion of free from men, servant to men. That will conclude that for today. But one thing I want to encourage before I go today is when you are surrounded by people that aren't believers too, just understand and know that you have to have a very firm foundation in Christ to not be too influenced by the people around you. And I think that's very important when we go to make relationships with people that aren't saved Christians, that aren't Christians at all. We want to make sure that our foundation is very firm. But I hope you have a good day. Keep the full armor of God on. Bless you. I hope you're staying safe out there, and have a good day.